What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you on Lucid. I want to go over some of the current data points, talk on what is influencing the stock price today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So Lucid is currently down 4.13%. A lot of volatility. So 451 the low, 469 is the high. 14.75 million shares have been traded so far. 36.25 is the average. So it looks like big money is not buying Lucid. If anything, they're selling. So I'm going to go over some additional data points that kind of prove that as well. But today there has been no SEC filings, no press releases from Lucid itself. There was a interview that did come out yesterday, I do believe. And of all the interviews that Lucid has done, this one would be the most controversial, I'd say, because normally Lucid puts themselves in a position that they get only positives and that they're seen in a positive light afterwards. Whereas this one, he was asking some very difficult questions. So I've never really watched this channel before, so state of charge, but highly recommend you listening to this interview. It's about 23 minutes long. A lot of good hot topics are brought up as well. A lot of good positives in general. But in here, I found it very interesting the fact that when this individual did bring up about how every single Lucid vehicle that is sold is losing X amount of money. And Peter kept trying to correct him, saying that it's not a loss, it's a reinvestment in the future. So I feel like this guy was really pressing Peter in the right scenarios. And once again, I'm not really sure why they did this interview to start off with, because it kind of did portray some issues, because even when they were talking about the gravity, he kind of skipped over, so the interviewer, and he skipped over it and just said, well, Lucid really needs to focus on that mid-sized SUV coming out either mid to late end of the decade, because nobody wants these expensive vehicles. And Peter just stayed silent. So good interview, got a lot of good information, both good and the bad from this. So once again, that came out yesterday, but today the main focus is just FedEx earnings. That did come out after hours yesterday, and not necessarily the best guidance. So I feel like that is spooking the broader market in combination with technicals. Technicals are breaking down. So I'm going to go over everything that you need to know. Today, there has been no recent analyst ratings. So same one was done about 14 days ago. Bank of America, John Murphy, $7 price target, 56% success rating. Options activity, $647,000 in calls being purchased versus 422,000 in puts. So based on all the options activities so far today, 63% is bearish. And I feel like that is the case because of the technicals of the call options that are being purchased so far. It is anticipated to be above $5 by the end of this week. So kind of still optimistic. GDP numbers are coming out tomorrow. Forecast is 5.2. That is relatively high. So once again, maybe they're putting themselves in a scenario to have a defeat. I'm not really sure, but if it is better than the forecast, then anticipate the market to continue its positive momentum. Vice versa could happen. So obviously just stay tuned for that. These are some of the transactions that have occurred on the secondary market over $100,000. So night and day difference compared to the greater part of last week. Like nobody is buying Lucid right now, which is very unfortunate. But let me know your thoughts on potentially why. Shorts. So this one is a interesting one, and most likely it kind of shows a setup that has been happening over the last couple of days. So as it stands, shorts are returning 5.38 million shares. So they are taking advantage of the sell-off. 24.68% of the free float is being shorted. 218.52 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average in comparison to the day prior, so yesterday, 13.99, so a little bit lower. And through interactive broker short availability does indicate that there is 9.2 million shares available to be shorted. So there's a couple things I want to bring up on this screen in among itself. So the fact that shorts are returning about 5 million shares, that does add buying pressure. This is why I said at the very beginning, the fact that we are down almost like 4.5% goes to show that big money is selling, kind of countering the 5 million in buying pressure that is happening. So kind of interesting what is happening, and this is why I like to analyze a lot of the information, because it gives you an insight on what truly is happening. Plus, oddly enough, it did change this morning from around 2.4 million shares available to be shorted to in excess of 10 million. So most likely someone did buy either after hours yesterday or pre-market or potentially even yesterday, just for the purposes of lending out shares. So one institution is very much known for that, and that is BlackRock. So most likely during the next 13F, you will see that BlackRock did increase their position quite significantly in Lucid, and that might be just to lend out shares, because they do have a very profitable business by doing that. So they buy the 10 million shares or whatever else, and then they lend them out for shorting and obviously whatever. So again, kind of interesting stuff that is happening when it comes down to that, but it's the technicals. That is why Lucid is kind of breaking down. So with it at $4.52, it is between this P and the R1. So it is lagging in comparison to a lot of the other growth stocks even today and as well yesterday, but $4.23 is going to be that next strong support that you'll want to watch for. And then 470, which was kind of the high today, so it didn't really have enough to kind of break out, but that is going to be the next strong resistance that you'll want to watch for. Again, GDP numbers are coming out tomorrow, so that might be positive, causing a retest of that, but who knows? I do feel that the GDP numbers might be setting up for a broader market fail. So who knows? Let me know your thoughts on Lucid. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with Lucid? As well, what did you think of this interview? For those of you that have listened to it, I feel like there was some pretty good things that was said in here, but at the same time, oddly enough, Lucid put themselves in this scenario and set them up for some negatives to be mentioned. So the fact that they are burning through a lot of money and most likely didn't really show any signs that things would change. And like I've said during the last quarterly earnings, I completely, and from the beginning, have always disagreed with 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗛. A lot of you have kind of hated me for that, because if 𝗪𝗪𝗧𝗛, I know she's gone, but if Sherry did say that like we need financing Q1, you always have to subtract 2 quarters from that, and that's the realistic viewpoint on when Lucid is going to be diluting next. So most likely it is going to be at the tail end of Q1, if not early Q2. That is when Lucid is going to be diluting. So it's kind of a touchy subject, the fact that Peter was saying that they're burning a lot of money, didn't really show any signs of changing that, and that should be considered more of a investment than anything. So that one didn't really rub me the right way. But still, who knows? Let me know your thoughts on Lucid overall, and what's your thoughts on shorts returning 5 million shares today, but yet the stock price not doing anything whatsoever. So what's your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, as I always say, take advantage of this promo only up until December the 31st. Sign up for an account with Moomoo, throw $100 at it, and you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So take advantage of this. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.